Welcome back. After 7 days ultimatum and repeated meetings or trying to meet with the federal government as SODIA withheld salaries after they went on strike with other unions in 2022, the NASU, that's Non-Academic Staff Union, and as well as SSANU, Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, they have decided to embark on an indefinite strike. The reason is simple. Salaries have been owed 4 months. Under the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari, workers went on strike, ASU and the rest of them, for about 8 months, and they instituted the no work, no pay. But when President Bola Tinubu took over, he said, okay, let's get them paid. And some other unions were paid, but they were not paid. Their salaries withheld. 4 months of those salaries has been withheld. And now they are saying they cannot do it anymore. They will stop offering services until the government attends to them, which is why we're starting this conversation on this particular part of the program. They started that strike yesterday. We're joined on the program by the president of the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim. He joins us via Zoom. Mr. Ibrahim, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Morning, Geoffrey, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, I've given a quick background, but I know you have a better view of that background. Maybe you can start from there for those who don't have the benefits of understanding what exactly would have made the union to say, look, we've been pushed to the wall right now. We don't care what is going to happen. Until you pay us, we're not coming back. Well, how did we get here?
Well, I think the background you gave is quite adequate. But for the records, university is universal, and it runs in a systematic form where we have the teaching and the non-teaching, staff, and we complement each other. Clearly, suffice it to say that none of the two can survive without the other, or none of the two can operate without the other. And therefore, when the operators of that system begins to, institute what is called divide and rule or segregation, for want of a better word, it creates chaos. It creates problem within the system, and therefore, the ultimate goal for establishing such institutions would not be achieved. So the government came with the mantra of wanting to stop strikes in our institutions. That's a welcome development. No worker in the university, whether teaching or non-teaching, is happy to go on strike, because we are also Nigerians, and like I did say severally, that we also are parents and we have our children in such. In fact, it is only public servants that have, their children in public schools. Most of these senior top government officials, where their children go to school. And therefore, if we shut the system down, it also affects us directly and indirectly too. So, but we must survive in order for us to put in our services and for the system to also, operate. So where we are shortchanged clearly in this format, it becomes very difficult for us to understand. And because these unions are there to protect the welfare and the well-being of workers. And as leaders, we are fortunate we are the ones in charge today. And we have a clear mandate from our principals that, look, we have taken this issue for too long, and we have been deceived severally. You did mention that this thing happened in 2022, yes, and this government came in May 2023, and in October, the president of this country gave this waiver, and by November, the outgoing Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, and his colleague in this Minister of State and other officials invited us to a meeting as far back as November in 2023, where they showed us this approval and gave us the award that the president has approved that for the last time they will pay this. And from November till date, if you count so many months, nothing happened on our side. But even those of the academic staff, I think they were only paid in March or April this year. And they were paid 4 months. And clearly we were shortchanged, we were removed from the payroll, and we were not paid. So we raised our voices. There is nobody that we have not taken this matter to, including the Nigerian Labour Congress that took the matter back to the president in July 2024. And the president was taken aback, where he directed at that meeting that the government officials in charge of this matter should go and sort it out. And from July till date, over 3 months, we have not seen anything again, except promises upon promises, meetings that have become unending, pleas that have not made any reasonable sense to us. So we at the expiration of this deadline, we have decided to take our destiny into our hands, and by shutting down the system. And as I speak to you today, all our public universities are shut down, and it's quite unfortunate.
And the impact of this strike is not in doubt. We can see that in some universities, activities have been disrupted already because of the absence from work of non-academic staff. We imagine that offices must run. Those who must move files around, are not there currently. Those who assist the process of academic work are not there. And Nigerian students will be watching this situation because this is not, what they like to happen year in, year out. But sadly, they're at the receiving end of all of this, just to emphasize that point. And they're watching right now, waiting for some information that could provide answers to their question, which is, when will we return to school? So in the last 24 hours, a lot could have happened. Has government again reached out to you, to your association, to NASU, to recommence negotiation about how this can be sorted out?
Well, in terms of reaching out, yes. Informally, we've been reached out to. But we are not too excited about this reach out because we have had it severally. But we hope this time it will be different. But there's a very short way to solve this problem, and fastest way too. Every process and procedure has been followed. What is remaining is for the payment to be made. The government will just direct that this payment should be released. And with a touch of a button, because everything is electronic now, once the payments are made, it's just for us to refer back to our principals, and I assure you, because we are all responsible people, we will only, resume back to work. Nobody is happy to stay at home. So the prolonged renegotiations and talking on the table and so on may not make much impact at the risk of sounding, this way. So what we want is action. The President has given the approval. The Ministry of Education has conveyed the approval. It is within the precincts of the Ministry of Finance. So the Minister of Finance should just do the needful, and that's all.
So, Mr. Mohammed, Mr. Ibrahim, how would you want the payment? Do you want everything paid at once, or if the government approaches you and say, look, already you know the condition of the economy, let's maybe pay 2 months and later we'll pay. How would you want this payment? That's on one hand. And how long do you intend to push before the government push back at you?
Well, if you ask me how I want the payment, government is owing 4 months. They should pay 4 months. But if it is reasonability, and because we are all Nigerians and we have been seeing things, there is an offer of 2 months as conveyed by government officials, which we are not averse to. At least half bread is better than none. Even ASU has about 7.5 months. They pay them 4 months. They're still pushing for the rest. So if we have 4 months and you give us 2 months at a blow, why not? We will come back to work, and then we will continue the discussion. At least we need an energy inside so that we can speed some, speech out. So we are responsible people, and if they should give us as approved for 2 months, we are ready to take, because this we have discussed with our own principals. As to how long we will continue to push, like I said, we have taken our destinies into our hands. Yes, the president, except if somebody is coming to tell us that he or she can subvert the approval of Mr. President, there is already an approval for the payment to be made. So we cannot imagine somebody stopping it, but it is happening somehow. So as to how long we will push as long as that approval subsists. That is our position.
All right. We must thank you so much, Mr. Mohammed. We have
just maybe one more question, Mr. Before I let you go. So now, help us understand the level of compliance across board. Are all the universities across the country complying, or there are still some that are holding back? And the state of affairs with the students themselves. Are there lectures going on despite the fact that you guys are not available? So let's just have a clear picture whether the institutions have literally been on lockdown because you're not available. So let's just get that picture clear before we wrap up.
Well, I need to tell you that we have a situation room, and the reports we have from SSANU angle and by extension NASU, we can confirm that about 93 public universities that we have, both federal and states, have been shut down in terms of administrative activities. For the records, we're in charge of administration, we're in charge of students' affairs, we're in charge of electricity, we're in charge of water, we're in charge of healthcare, we're in charge of security, and other things that I may not be able to mention here. So if you think these things are off and things will be normal in the university, well, I leave that to you. But for now, the universities are shut down, and the compliance is, as of today, the compliance is about 95%. And we are looking forward to the earliest resolution to this problem so that the system will not continue to suffer, because it is not in the interest of any one of us. But of course, we are Nigerians. We should not be changed. We must survive in order to put in our best in our places of work.
All right, Mr. Mohammed, I'm told we have more time to expand this conversation. So beyond this level, perhaps if the 4 months withheld salaries are paid in the next few months, we wonder if it provides an enduring solution to the challenge of constant strikes in the tertiary institutions. And that brings us back again to the 2009 agreement, which is at the heart of the matter. ASU is, on the other hand, also threatening to embark on strike again because that has not been sorted. What do you propose to be an enduring solution to, university financial autonomy, really, funding tertiary institutions?
Well, this is a very interesting question and a very relevant one. For us to understand this concept completely, like I mentioned in the beginning, university is universal. A university in Nigeria should not operate differently from the university in Australia, United States, Europe, or anywhere. So we must deliberately attempt and ensure that we do that which is supposed to be done. Now, there is no way you can run a university system without expenditure, without putting in money. Now, the handlers of universities or creators or establishers or those that have established universities, in this case government, should deliberately understand that if you don't fund universities, you are only creating problem for the system that churned out the manpower in the country. Now, we have been complaining about half-baked graduates, people running to Cotonou and other places to go and obtain, all type of degrees. The answer to this is simple. The system is not properly funded. Let me just even shock you. Are you aware that no public university today in Nigeria is able to pay its electricity bill? Most of these universities, just yesterday I was in Yobe State University where we had a program, and we were in a hall where there was no electricity because the university cannot afford to pay for it. Even though I am aware that there's a general problem of general blackout in the northern part of Nigeria. But just recently, ABU Zaria, University of Lagos, University of Port Harcourt, University of Maiduguri have all came out, and Modibo Adama University came out to cry that we cannot afford to pay our bills for electricity. So how do you run a university, for example, without electricity? How do you conduct research? How do you do studies? How do you expect the students and the workers to remain in their offices, in their labs, in their in their domiciles. So government must understand that electricity must be a priority. That is one. Two, you cannot have the best of equipment without having a well-trained and well-remunerated staff. If you lack any of the two, there is no way the system can operate. So if you want to attract the best of brains to come and teach or to come and work in our public universities, you must be ready to pay them. You must be ready to give them the wherewithal, what they require to operate, just like in any other part of the world. So university is universal, and if you fund your universities properly, you will churn out good manpower, you will have productive economy, and you will have less of other challenges because you will have educated population. When you have educated population, you will have less of security challenges, you will have less of healthcare challenges, and so on and so forth.
All right, Mr. Ibrahim, as we wind down, just in 30 seconds, because we're having this conversation, is a capacity building hub. So how much is an average senior staff in the non-academic paid compared to the academic staff?
Well, salaries and allowances are a function of what government, fix for its workers. And therefore, we have what is called consolidated salary scale for the non-teaching staff, tertiary institution salary scale. That is called CONTIS. While in the case of the academics, you have what is called CONWAS. So whatever the academic staff receive is what the Salaries and Wages Commission has approved for it. And whatever the non-teaching staff also collects. And these tables are there in public domain. So it depends on what officer you are talking about. It depends on what level you are talking about. So we have workers.
Let's say level 15 worker, a level 15. That's quite senior.
Well, a level 15 worker in the non-teaching cadre collects barely about 500,000 naira.
What about the academic staff?
That's the equivalent of a professor. Less than 500,000. That is what they receive. Just 400 and something thousand naira.
All right, Mr. Mohammed Ibrahim, the president of SSANU, thank you so much for coming on the program. We appreciate you coming to expand this issue. And we hope that government listens to you and pay you your money.
Thank you very much, and thanks for this platform. We appreciate it as always.
Absolutely. So we'll take a quick break. When we come back after this break, we'll talk power. The northern region has been thrown into darkness. We want to find out what exactly is going on. The president has directed the Minister of Power to get to work and ensure power is restored. They have complained about insecurity. They have even proposed decentralizing the grid. What exactly is the way forward as a panacea to this power issue? We'll talk about that with the experts when we come back. Join us again